Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. Chapter 1. I curse the day I was born. When my mother saw me, she screamed in horror. I was ugly. Worse than ugly. My face was like a skull. My nose was sunken. It looked as if I had no nose at all. My eyes were small and yellow. My body was a skeleton with skin. But inside, I was a child, not a monster. Know it. My mother never kissed me. Never. She could not bear to look at me. I was so horrible that she made me wear a mask. My father never even saw my face. Did I have a name? I do not remember one. I remember only harsh words from my mother. And the sting of my father's belt. I remember only fear and pain. As soon as I was old enough, I ran away. I ran from the little town in France where I was born. By day, I hid. By night, I wandered. No one saw my face. I did not know where I was going. And I did not care. In the dark, I sang to myself. Unlike my body, my voice was very beautiful. My songs rang out clear and fine in the night air. Sometimes people heard me sing. Where is that lovely voice coming from? They would ask. It sounds like an angel. Beautiful singer, they would call. Come out. Show us who you are. Show them what? The body of a skeleton? A skull with a mask? I stayed hidden in the dark. When I got hungry, I looked in garbage cans for scraps of food. I picked pockets and learned the ways of the street. One night I saw tents far off. As I came closer, I saw that it was a fair. Lights shone. People walked from tent to tent, talking and laughing. I straightened my mask and walked to the fair. A man inside the gate called, "Come one. Come all. This way to the freak show. See things you have never seen. See the lady with a beard. See the man with 3 eyes. Come. This way." A lady with a beard? A man with 3 eyes? See the lady with fish scales, the man called. See the fattest man in the world. I followed the signs to the freak show and bought a ticket. I blinked beneath my mask. I could not believe my eyes. There she was, a lady with a beard. Next to her was a man with a funny spot on his forehead. It looked like a third eye. The lady and the man were like no one I had ever seen before. I walked on. I saw the fattest man in the world. And the lady with fish scales. They were strange and ugly. They were like me. I spoke to the fat man. "I want to stay with the fair," I told him. "This is no place for a boy," he said. "Go home to your mama." "I have no home," I said. "And I never had a mother." I pulled off my mask. The fat man stared at me just the way people stared at him. Then he nodded. "I see," he said. "You do belong here." The fat man took me to the manager. The manager looked at my skull face and my bony, white body. He smiled. "Yes," he said. "Stay with us. I have an idea for you." The next night, I did not need a ticket for the freak show. I was in it. People paid money to see me. "Come one. Come all. Right this way," the man called. See the most horrible face in the world. See the living dead boy. That was me. The most horrible face in the world. The living dead boy. At night, people came to look at me. My little yellow eyes gleamed in the dark. I took off my mask. People screamed and ran from my tent. But they bought more tickets. They came back to look again. I made money for the fair. And for myself. For the first time in my life, I felt at peace. I had found others like myself. The living dead boy was where he belonged. Chapter 2. During the day, the show was closed. I talked with the other freaks. I ate with them. But I always wore my mask. What is your name? The fortune teller asked me one day. I have no name, I told her. You must have a name, she said kindly. Come. We will find out what it is. She sat down at a table opposite me. She waved her hands over a crystal ball. Your name is here, she said. It is Eric. Eric. I liked the sound of it. I liked having a name. And even better, I liked having a friend. The fortune teller taught me more than my name. She taught me how to do tricks with cards and coins. Soon I was better than she was. The fortune teller's husband was an escape artist called the Rubber Man. He could tie his arms and legs into knots. He could curl into a tiny ball. In his act, a man tied him with ropes. Another man locked him in chains. But the Rubber Man always escaped. He showed me how to do it too. I was not unhappy. No. By day, I learned tricks. I wanted to learn everything. I learned more than any boy in school. By night, I scared people. I began to like my power to frighten. Yet at times I was lonely. The fortune teller loved the Rubber Man. And he loved her. But no one loved Eric. No one. At those times I would go off alone and sing to myself. My beautiful voice gave me peace. One day a man from a bigger fair promised me more money. So I went with him. At the new fair I had a new name. Eric, the living skeleton. People paid high prices to see my skull face. And I had a new friend, the magician. He taught me how to make things disappear. And how to bring them back again. I helped him build his trapdoors. My favorite act at the new fair was Madame Delia and her talking doll. Madame Delia wore a hat with purple feathers. She held a big doll on her lap. When she spoke to it, the doll answered. It could really talk. Madame Delia, I said to her one day. How do you make your doll talk? What a thing to ask, Eric, she said. I never tell my secrets to anyone. But I kept asking and asking. At last Madame Delia gave in. She showed me how she used her own voice to make the doll talk. She taught me how to throw my voice too. Such fun! Soon my voice could go anywhere. Dogs seemed to sing. Men seemed to bark. Before long, I was better than Madame Delia. How Madame Delia wished she had not shown me her magic. She whispered against me. She told the other fair people that I would steal their tricks. She was right. Soon I had no friends. I felt confused. Was learning the same as stealing? Then I would steal. In the dark of night, I left that fair. There were other fairs. I could always get a job. I traveled from fair to fair, stealing tricks from everyone I met. I was not just Eric, the living skeleton. I had a magic act. I made things disappear. I made women sing in donkey voices. I was an escape artist, too. No longer a shy boy, I felt sure of myself. I grew famous in my way. The star of the freak show. A fair would have a big sign for me. People from faraway lands stopped at the fairs. Their eyes grew wide at what they saw me do. And so my fame spread across the world. One night a man called the Persian spoke to me after the show. "We have heard of you in faraway Persia," he said. "The Shah has sent me to find you. He invites you to stay in his palace. You will live like a king." Me, Eric, live like a king? Why not? Chapter 3. The Shah of Persia could be cruel, but he was kind to me. He liked my magic. "I can do more than these tricks," I told him one day. "Let me plan a palace for you." "What kind of palace?" asked the Shah. "A magic palace," I said. "With secret passages and trapdoors. You could come and go unseen. You could hear all that is said in the palace. You could spy into any room." The Shah laughed with delight. He put me in charge of his best workers. During the many months it took to build the new palace, I lived like a king. It was just as the Persian had promised. No longer was I Eric, the freak. I was Eric the builder. And the Shah was my friend. Or so I thought. At last the magic palace was done. The Shah loved it. As a surprise, I added a torture chamber to amuse him. Only the Shah and I knew the dark secrets of the palace. One night I was roaming through a hidden passage. I heard the Shah talking to his special guard in the throne room. "Put his yellow eyes out," the Shah said. "Then he will never build another magic palace. No other king will have what I have." My heart jumped. Had I heard right? Did the Shah want to blind me? No, the Shah went on. "That is not enough. Eric is too clever. Even blind, he could plan another palace. He must be killed." "As you wish," the guard said. Tears filled my eyes. My heart was breaking. I had thought I had a friend. But I was wrong. I had only another enemy. As I stumbled away, I bumped into the Persian. "Hurry," he whispered. "I brought you here. Now I will help you run for your life." The rubber man's lessons were useful. I curled into a tiny ball. I squeezed into a wooden box with a sliding lid. The Persian put the box on a train bound for Turkey. The Persian stayed behind. Later, I learned what had happened. "Where is Eric?" the Shah demanded. "I do not know," the Persian said. "I will put out your eyes if you do." "Not find him," cried the Shah. The Persian took a walk by the sea to think. On the beach, he saw a corpse washed up by the waves. Birds had eaten its eyes out and had pecked away much of its skin. The Persian dressed the body in my clothes and brought it to the Shah. "Here is Eric," the Persian said. "Good," said the Shah. "Now the secrets of my palace are safe." But how wrong he was. In Turkey, I slid out of the box. I presented myself to the Sultan. He became my new friend. I planned an even better palace for him with a more terrible torture chamber. And for him, I made robots. I dressed them just like the Sultan. They could walk and they could speak in his voice. People were fooled. They thought they were talking to the Sultan. But the Sultan was really home in bed. These robots are grand, the Sultan told me one night. And they are all mine. No one else has such robots, Eric. No one. His words made me remember other words. The Shah's words. How long would it be before the Sultan would want me dead? Chapter 4. Once more, I ran. Yet I was tired of running, tired of Shahs and Sultans. All I wanted to do was live like other people. I traveled back to France and worked as a builder of ordinary houses. Then all Paris began to buzz with excitement. A new opera house was to be built in the heart of the city. I was given the contract to build the foundation. What an opera house it was going to be! Huge. Made of the finest marble. Yet the beauty of the opera house did not interest me. My work was what lay below the opera house. There were 5 cellars going deep into the earth. Stables for the horses used in the operas. 14 furnaces. Dressing rooms for over 500 singers and dancers. 100 closets for musical instruments. At the bottom of the 5th cellar was a lake. Its water could be pumped up to the stage to make waterfalls. It was all a perfect playground for me. One day, I was working in the 1st cellar. I glanced up and saw the Persian. I greeted him warmly. "What are you doing in Paris?" "Looking for you," he said. For a moment I was pleased. "I saved your life," he continued. "That makes me responsible for you." The Persian sighed. "I know what dangerous things you can do. I must keep an eye on you." "Spy on me?" I cried. "No. My life is my own." The Persian shook his head and walked away. I would show him. He would never know what Eric was up to. Never. So it was that I began to work after hours. For years after the opera house was completed, I continued working. Below the Paris Opera House was a whole world. My world! I built secret passages and trapdoors, false walls and trick mirrors in the dressing rooms. I built a house for myself by the lake. My bedroom was large, with black walls and the best organ ever made. There was another bedroom and a dining room. Outside, walls of rock hid my cozy little house. No one could see it was there. Like me, my house wore a mask. I added a special touch to my house. A torture chamber to make the most wicked Shah or Sultan sigh with envy. At first, it looked like a harmless forest. But it was a forest with only one tree. An iron tree. Mirrors turned that tree into a forest. Lights could make it a forest of death. Under the floor, I stored gunpowder. Enough to blow a big hole in Paris. It made me feel powerful to know I had it. Maybe I would never use it. But maybe I would. Chapter 5. At first, I liked living under the opera. I had made a kingdom for myself in the dark. I weeks at a time sitting at my spent organ, writing music. And then there was always some little improvement to add to the cellars. A new trapdoor, maybe, or a two-way mirror. Yet as the years passed, the longing to live like others grew. One day when I was out shopping, I bought a mask with a false nose. And a fine suit of opera clothes. That night, I tried on my new face. I looked different, but not too frightening. I put on my new clothes and bought a ticket for the opera. So what if I still looked like a skeleton? I was doing what other people did. Oh, how I loved the opera. The music seemed to take away my pain. I began going to the opera each night. The little ballet girls scurried away from me in the halls. Men and women drew back as I passed. Soon people began telling stories about a thin stranger who was always lurking about the opera. One night I heard a couple whispering. "That cannot be a man," said the woman. "I think it is a ghost." "Yes," said the man. "He must be the phantom of the opera." I laughed to myself. What fun! From that moment on I was the opera ghost, the phantom of the opera. Imagine my delight. Even the managers, those smart businessmen, feared me. I bought a bottle of ink the color of blood and wrote to them, "Dear managers, a ghost who loves music haunts your opera house. I ask you to let me have box 5 each night." Sincerely, the opera ghost. The managers were afraid to say no. They did as I asked. Now I had my own box at the opera. Getting the box had been easy. What else could the phantom of the opera get? I took out my red ink again. This time I asked for money. I told the managers to put it in an envelope and leave it in box 5. Again they obeyed. Now I was living. I heard all the great singers of Paris. The biggest star of all was Carlotta. Everyone thought her voice was wonderful. Carlotta thought so too. I did not agree. Her high notes hurt my ears. But little did I dream then how I would change Carlotta's voice. Chapter 6. One night, I went to the opera as usual. A young girl, Christine, had small part. I listened as she sang. Her voice was beautiful, but sad. So sad. I knew the right teacher could make her voice perfect. I could not stop thinking about Christine. One night I hid behind the wall of her dressing room. Throwing my voice into the room, I began to sing. I peeked through a hole in the wall and saw her smile. "Beautiful voice," she called. "Where are you?" "With you," I answered. "I heard you sing. Your voice is lovely. But your heart is sad." She nodded. "It is true. Why are you sad?" I asked. "My mother died when I was 6, she told me. My father and I went from fair to fair. Papa played the 6 and taught me to sing. One day a man heard us. He brought us to Paris to play and sing here. Then my father became very ill." Tears filled her eyes. "I am sorry," I told her. "Before father died," said Christine, "he told me about the angel of music. Papa said that the angel visits all great musicians. He said he would send the angel of music to me from heaven. He has kept his promise." Christine wiped her tears. "Oh, voice," she cried. "Is it you? Are you the angel of music?" For a minute, I said nothing. Then I made up my mind. "Yes," I told her. "I am the angel of music." Christine wept with joy. "I am ready," Angel. Teach me to sing. And so I did. Each night after the performance, I went behind her dressing room wall. I played the violin and we sang. How we sang! Christine put her heart into her singing. Her voice was far better than Carlotta's. But I warned her. Sing this way only here with me. Why, voice? She asked. Wait and see. I said. We will take all of Paris by surprise. Oh, how happy I was. I had told a little lie, yes. But I meant no harm. Everything went well for 3 months. Then one night Christine sang a small part as usual. When she came to her dressing room, she was very excited. Her eyes shone. I saw Raoul tonight, she told me. He was here. He heard me sing. Who is Raoul? I asked. I sensed danger. I knew him as a child. She blushed. Now he is a man. And so handsome. A handsome young man made Christine's eyes shine. I could not speak. Fear of losing her froze my words. Voice, she called to me. Are you still there? I could not answer. Yet the next night, I returned to my place behind the wall. Christine was in her dressing room. Christine, I said. The angel of music is here. Oh, voice, she cried. How happy I am that you came back. I missed you so. Christine, I said, do you love someone here on earth? If you do, I must return to heaven. I must go away forever. Go away? Christine gasped. Forever? Oh no, voice. No. Then you must love only me, Christine, I told her. Christine was quiet. At last she said, Raoul is no more than a brother to me, a friend. Her words made me happy. I knew so little of love, I believed her. Our lessons went on as before. Christine was almost ready